For millennia, emperors, alchemists, and explorers searched to the ends of the earth for the fountain of youth. They looked for magical elixirs and rare herbs to stop the relentless march of time. They didn't realize that the fountain actually exists, not in a distant jungle, but hidden deep within the microscopic architecture of our own bodies. It is an ancient biological software hardwired into almost every living organism on Earth. And the password to activate it is a profound paradox. You cannot buy it. You cannot consume it. Because the ultimate trigger for human longevity is not abundance. It is scarcity. Welcome to the science of caloric restriction. This is the story of how eating less doesn't just shrink your waistline. It fundamentally rewires the molecular switches of aging itself. To understand how scarcity stops aging, we must look at the canvas of the human cell. Inside your cells, a constant, delicate dance is taking place, governed by two master nutrient sensors. They act like the accelerator and the brakes of a car. The first is called mTOR. Think of mTOR as the master builder. When nutrients are plentiful, mTOR senses the amino acids and glucose and commands the cell to grow, build, and divide. The second master is AMPK. Think of AMPK as the master inspector and mechanic. AMPK is activated when nutrients are low and energy is depleted. Its job is not to build, but to repair, recycle, and protect the cell from starvation. In a healthy, long life, these two forces must remain in a beautiful, oscillating balance. Growth followed by repair. Day followed by night. But in the modern world, we have broken the balance. We live in an unprecedented era of caloric abundance. We eat breakfast, snack, eat lunch, snack again, and eat a heavy dinner. Because nutrients are constantly flowing into the bloodstream, the mTOR switch is jammed firmly in on position. The cellular factories are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The cells are constantly growing, constantly synthesizing new proteins, constantly pushing the biological engine to its absolute limit. Growth sounds like a good thing, but in biology, perpetual growth comes at a terrible cost. When a factory never shuts down, it never has time for maintenance. Mistakes are made. Defective proteins are produced. The microscopic exhaust from this endless metabolism begins to choke the cell. Watch as the canvas darkens. Over decades of constant eating and constant mTOR activation, the damage accumulates. Misfolded proteins and damaged mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell, pile up inside the cellular walls like rusted, toxic junk. Because the builder is always working, the mechanic never gets a turn. Eventually, overwhelmed by the toxic debris, healthy cells give up. They stop dividing and transform into something sinister. Senescent cells, often called zombie cells. These dying cells refuse to undergo natural cell death. Instead, they linger in your tissues, secreting highly inflammatory toxins that damage the healthy cells around them. This accumulation of microscopic ruin, this cellular garbage and zombie-induced inflammation, is what you experience in a mirror. As wrinkles, fatigue, aching joints, and ultimately age-related diseases. But what happens if we simply close the kitchen? What happens if we restrict our calories by 20% or practice intermittent fasting, giving the body a prolonged period without food? As the glucose and amino acids in the bloodstream drop, the roaring fires of mTOR finally quiet down. The builder goes to sleep. The cell senses the drop in energy. Alarms sound in the dark. The body believes it is entering a famine. And in response to this mild, controlled stress, the mighty AMPK awakens. AMPK is the ultimate survival switch. When it turns on, it radically shifts the cell's priority from reproduction and growth to preservation and defense. It prepares the body to outlive the famine. And its first order of business is a massive, microscopic spring cleaning. Activated by AMPK, the cell initiates a miraculous biological process called autophagy, which literally translates to self-eating. A sweeping, magnificent membrane called the autophagosome forms inside the cell. It moves like a predatory net, hunting down the toxic debris. It swallows the misfolded proteins, the rusted mitochondria, and the cellular junk that has been causing you to age. It drags this garbage into the lysosome, the cell's recycling center, where acidic enzymes dissolve the toxic waste, breaking it down into pure, clean building blocks to be reused for energy. Through autophagy, the cell literally eats its own damage to survive the lack of calories. The cellular landscape is swept clean. The biological clock is rewound. But the miracle of scarcity doesn't stop at cleaning up trash. It reaches into the very core of your existence, your DNA. Caloric restriction causes a sharp increase in a vital fuel molecule called NAD+. This fuel ignites a family of ancient longevity proteins known as sirtuins. Imagine sirtuins as the guardians of the genome. As we age, our DNA strands naturally fray, break, and lose their tight structural coils, leading to genetic chaos and disease. Sirtuins use the NAD+ fuel generated by fasting to rush to the sites of DNA damage. They physically wrap around the fragile genetic code, silencing inflammatory genes and repairing the broken strands. They act as an unbreakable shield against the passage of time. But remember, without the stress of caloric restriction or fasting, NAD+ levels remain low, and the sirtuins sleep, leaving your DNA defenseless. You do not need to starve yourself to death to reap these rewards. The science of longevity is not about malnourishment. It is about strategic scarcity. By simply reducing caloric intake by 10 to 20%, or by compressing your eating window into 8 hours a day, you can harmonize the two masters of aging. You allow mTOR to build your body during the day, and you allow AMPK and autophagy to clean and repair your cells at night. Scientists are even discovering molecules, like rapamycin and resveratrol, that act as caloric restriction mimetics, tricking the body into this repair state without skipping a meal. While mimetics are promising, the fountain of youth is not a magic potion. It is a biological rhythm. When you embrace the quiet, restorative power of emptiness, your body shifts gears. According to researchers at the National Institute on Aging, after just 12 to 16 hours of fasting, your body switches from burning glucose to burning ketones, a superfuel that clears brain fog and enhances cognitive function. Furthermore, a mild caloric deficit lowers your core body temperature and slows down your resting metabolic rate. This reduces the production of reactive oxygen species, or oxidative stress, essentially cooling the cellular furnace to prevent it from burning out. Think of it like driving a car. Running the engine at a steady, lower RPM prevents the parts from wearing out. When you combine this efficient metabolism with the deep cleaning of autophagy and the DNA repair of sirtuins, you are orchestrating the ultimate symphony of your cells. Every protein, every mitochondria, every strand of DNA plays in perfect harmony. The damage of the past is repaired. The resilience for the future is built. You're no longer a passive victim of time. You truly become the master of your own aging. The information in this video is for educational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider before beginning any fasting or caloric restriction regimen.